Welcome back to Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends stay connected through their love of romance, mutual support, and lady love. Our Patreon shout-out this week goes out to Mary F. Mary, you are one of the many descendants of the Hydra. Like all quote-unquote villains of history, the Hydra story was told by the victor and omitted the Hydra's many wonderful qualities. As a water dweller, the Hydra took many of her characteristics from her surroundings. She was principled, but that didn't mean she couldn't adapt to a change in the flow. She was highly emotionally intelligent and an empath, which is something you've channeled in your existence. So deep was her emotional intuition that she often needed time away in her cave to recharge after interactions with others. More than anything, though, was her power of persistence and regeneration, which have both suited you well in your life. When knocked down, you aren't one to stay down. What many don't know is that those powers didn't come from her poisonous blood or breath. No, those are just a hallmark of her species. Her powers of regeneration and persistence came from her loyal, abiding, and protective heart. She could not leave those she loved to suffer alone, so she would reinvent herself at any attack to ensure their safety and happiness. You, Mary, have that same deep well of vigor and rejuvenation, and you use them well. This week, we decided to root ourselves in the Christmas spirit by reading How the Duke Stole Christmas, an anthology featuring Tessa Dare, Sarah MacLean, Sophie Jordan, and Joanna Shupe. This episode, we cover Tessa Dare and Sophie Jordan's stories. Sarah MacLean and Joanna Shupe's works will be available for patrons. Whatever you celebrate, we hope that the end of the Western calendar year treats you well, that you and your families, blood or chosen, are safe and content, and that, like the Hydra, you look forward to the rejuvenative power that the end of the year can bring. Now, let's get our shortbread on with these holiday delights. Hi, Erin.
Hello, Melody.
Merry Christmas.
Is that a Christmas song?
It's
Merry
Christmas time.
I think we just made up some Christmas music gold.
I think we did
that
too. Yeah, we'll remix
previously
it.
Undiscovered Christmas song right there.
Mm-hmm.
We're not recording this on Christmas, you guys. We're recording this on Black Friday.
We are.
Sorry to burst your bubbles, but Melody's about to burst a baby, and so we have a feeling we're not going to be able to record this on Christmas, so we're doing it ahead of time.
Or even the week before. You never know with these due date situations.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm a little nervous about recording it right now because who the fuck knows?
That's true.
But yeah, we're doing it.
But well, I didn't read this until today. Did you read this until today?
I started reading it yesterday because I am actually a bit of a Grinch. Did you know that?
I knew. So that's why I was going to say is but we couldn't record this until it was Thanksgiving or after because Melody is
I'm a dick.
Fucking asshole about when people can celebrate holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew you wouldn't start it until
when I can celebrate holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing about Christmas. I love it, but I usually find it very stressful until about December 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
I either find it very stressful or I pay zero attention to it until roughly December 22nd. And then I start turning on all of the Christmas Pandora stations and I start driving Michael bonkers town with Christmas carols and things like that.
Uh-huh.
We usually don't get a tree because trees stress me out.
Wait, nope.
I don't like
Rewind.
it.
Christmas trees stress you out or trees in general stress you out?
Love trees in general.
Oh,
Christmas
I would
trees
really
stress
like
me
it
out.
if you had developed a thing with trees where you're oh God, fuck this. I can't with trees right now.
No, Christmas trees are stressful because in my house, a lot of times my mom would decide we needed a Christmas tree on, I don't know, Christmas Eve or the day before. And then it was always like really stressful.
God,
like we've got to make the
out.
Christmas tree perfect before Christmas happens. And then it would sit in our living room until like mid-February, if not later, and just get pine mess everywhere because nobody wanted to take down the Christmas tree. And so they just, all of it just really stresses me out, and I don't like it. So we don't get a Christmas tree, but I've made my bookshelves into Christmas trees before. I like decorate them in wrapping paper and stuff, and then I put all the presents on the bookshelf, and that's really fun. So we do other kind of Christmas celebrations. And then my parents-in-law always have this giant, like they're the smart ones. They get one of those shenanigans where the artificial things that you store in the basement. Yep. I swear to God, it's like 8 feet tall. It's insane. It's
it
already
lights itself
lit.
Up. Yep.
That's the one.
Love it. That's what we have. It's so
Yeah.
tall and so great.
Yeah, so it looks majestic and it's no mess. So that makes sense to me. But still, but I'm that way with decorating for every holiday or season. I don't trust myself to ever want to take it down. So I just don't decorate for a holiday or a season usually.
Well, you don't have to take it. You can go under the guise of celebrating Candlemas and keep it up until February 2nd.
No, not with a Michael Chen. No, because he comes from a tradition that's like, his family is Buddhist from Taiwan. And so he's very like, I'm all about people celebrating their religions, but I don't like the fact that in October I have to hear other people's music in every public space until I die.
That's
and
fair.
I get that
That's fair.
too. Yeah. So, but I will guarantee you that if it fits, I will be wearing my reindeer onesie.
I'm a little offended you didn't wear it to the recording of this episode.
I almost did. But then
you guys, she looks fierce as hell. Her hair is all done. She's got makeup to the nines. She's got a beautiful scarf just swept around her neck right now. Like, she's all kinds of put together. And I was like, as soon as I saw Melody, I was like, this is bullshit. I know exactly what she should be wearing, and it is not this.
I know. I almost ran up and put it on, but I was already 15 minutes late to recording, and I didn't want to do that to you anymore. So
15 minutes late to recording? I'm sorry, is the earliest you've been in the last, 6 months. So... I honestly don't know if you're wrong. No, I'm not wrong. I know it. So if you would have pushed it back another 10 for that reindeer onesie, no one would have batted an eye.
All right. Point fucking taken, madam.
I'm sorry. I couldn't not say it.
I know. So yeah, and then this Christmas is going to be even weirder because I am due December 28th. And so I don't know if I'll actually be spending Christmas at the hospital. Like we have zero Christmas plans. Normally one of my siblings comes out and my aunt a lot of times will come out and visit. It's all really awesome and fun. And then we either spend it at my in-laws' place or they come to our place.
Oh my God, Melody, what if I have to post this episode? I don't know how. I don't know how it works.
No,
I don't know.
I can schedule it.
Oh,
don't
God,
worry about it.
I hope so. I don't know how it works.
Way in
I don't know
advance.
how to put the music on it. You guys, the intro to this is going to be like, you guys, I'm Erin. I'm scared shitless. I don't know what to do. Here's the episode's raw audio. It's only one side. It's just me. I'm just singing the theme song. Dum, dum, dum. Oh, Jesus. What if I have to do that?
You won't. I'm going to have it edited and scheduled before any of this happens. Don't worry about it.
Okay, you guys.
Yeah.
It's amazing that Melody lets me take half the credit for this thing because all I do is I skim a book every week and then I show up and then I press send. That is my podcast responsibilities.
You know what? I love it. That's,
I love it too. I love it so much. Let's keep it going. Love it.
So anyway, I'm stoked. Of course, it's Black Friday, and I haven't started my Christmas shopping because, let's review, I usually don't pay attention until December 22nd, and then I run around in a mad frenzy. I always expect
your Christmas present around your birthday.
Yeah, that's a great rule of thumb.
Springtime is when the Melody Carlisle Christmas presents start to roll in.
Yeah.
Because you're usually handmade, but also she has like a perfectionist situation where she can't just hand make it and send it. She has to hand make it and then like start over 15 times and be like, it's not perfect.
And then it'll sit in the box until I have the inspiration to write the perfect card.
Yes.
That could be 3 weeks. Like...
I remember when you were writing cards to the patrons.
Oh God.
And you were like, I just can't write these cards right now. I don't know what to say to them. I'm like, Melody, you just take the card, open it, right? Keep being a badass or something and send it. And you're like, no. I've got to write these cards. Like,
no, it has to be heartfelt.
I know.
It has to be original. Each card has to be different, even though they will probably never talk to each other. Nor, when they do talk to each other, are they going to remember what I wrote in the fucking card. No, I am the worst. I'm like, it has to be goddamn friendship poetry or it cannot be sent.
And you know what? I did the novels, the first round of the novels. I wrote inside the novels a little letter to everybody, which I felt was specifically to each person.
Yeah.
And it took me about an hour and a half maybe to send out that first flurry of novels. And then I sat there and I thought, should this have taken you longer? Are you not as good as Mel? Like, should you redo these? Should you go get more books? And I was like, no, Melody's just crazy.
You're
like,
just
it's
not
fine.
a crazy person.
And I say that with so much love.
Yes, I know.
There were several of you got novels where like I was just writing fast and like I just misspelled words and like crossed shit out and like corrected it. And I was like, oh God, if Melody ever sees this. But then I was like, oh, she won't. So it's okay. So sorry, you guys, if you got one where I misspelled something and had to cross something out or like make an arrow and go to the next page. There's a lot of that too.
That's so great.
But the thought is what counts.
It is. And they got the book and everything else. Okay, so what do you normally do for Christmas?
So growing up, I have like 30 cousins on my mom's side, and we'd all pile in my grandma's ranch style house, 2-bedroom, very, very, very small house with like my 10 aunts and uncles, and we'd all open presents on Christmas Eve. And then Christmas Day was just the 3 of us. I don't have any siblings, so it was just me and my parents. And then after my grandparents died, we kind of did the same thing where me and my parents would stay up really late on Christmas Eve opening presents. I'm talking like all night. Like we'd stay up till like 2 a.m. and then just sleep on Christmas. We'd have like hors d'oeuvres for Christmas Eve dinner. Like, you know, snacky sorts of things. Cheese and crackers, fried up shrimps, you know, that kind of thing.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's basically what we do. When I was in high school, I got on the pagan kick. And so I wanted to do Yule log. I wanted to do Yule upright. So we got onto the Christmas Eve is not Yule, but we made a small family compromise and we stay up late and make a Yule log and burn it all night and do it up.
That's really cool. So what do you do now?
I don't know. Like, I forget about Christmas until the 23rd, and then I look around and I'm like demanding cheer. I'm like, there's supposed to be cheer. Somebody's supposed to decorate my house, and like, where's my mom? Like, where's all the cheer? Like that's basically what it, or, like sometimes I do it up ahead of time, but I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough.
Normal, I guess. David has created a weird tradition the last 2 or 3 Christmases where I'm not like a big eggnog person, but it came to be Christmas Eve like 2 or 3 years ago, and David was like, where's the eggnog? And I was like, oh, I didn't buy any egg. Not like that. Not like a previous person who you're thinking of where I'm like, where the fuck is the eggnog? Yeah. No. David's nice. He was just like, don't we have any eggnog? And I'm like, no, I don't really like eggnog. And he's like, well, it's essential for Christmas Eve. And I was like, well, I didn't know this. I haven't lived with you before.
Yeah.
So he goes down to the store to get eggnog. And of course, Alaska. Plum out of eggnog.
Yeah.
So he comes home and he's like, I Googled it and you can make eggnog. I was like, yeah, of course you can make eggnog. And he's like, well, I'm going to do it. And so you need stiff peaks. You need to whip Oh
boy.
You need whipped cream to stiff peaks. And so he got out some heavy cream and he just got a fork and he just started going in a bowl. And I'm like, David, this is going to take you 3 hours. Like, you don't know what you're getting into because he's not a cook.
Sure.
And so he's like, no, I'm fucking doing it. Like, we're going to do this.
We're going to have some eggnog.
Yeah, he did that to stiff peaks, and we had some delicious eggnog. And then the last 2 Christmases, he's done the same thing. About like 3 p.m. on Christmas Eve, he gets out his bowl, he pours in his whipping cream, and he starts whipping away. I'm like, all right.
Whoa, that's amazing.
That's one tradition that we have.
Yeah, I like it. Oh, one tradition that we have that I forgot about is that on Christmas Eve, if we go out to the Chen house, we have hot pot. Christmas Eve is always hot pot. Yeah. So that is delicious. And I look forward to it every year.
Oh, I would too.
Oh, man. Yeah. And then the next day. And then I think Michael sort of, when he was younger, demanded that they open Christmas on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, it's the best. Everyone should do that.
Yeah.
Fuck Santa. Just do it on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
I also learned that there was no Santa. No kids listen to this.
Yeah, I was going to say,
if your kids are listening to this, it's your own fucking fault. But
man, I found out
real early, so we never needed to do that. Anyway, what's up?
I heard a radio commercial the other day. Meanwhile, it's Black Friday today, everybody. Christmas radio commercials started coming out like 2 weeks ago, minimum. It is.
Oh, you're a crabby catty. Look at you. You're an upset Ursula about this one. Look at you.
The worst part about it is that there was a Christmas commercial on regular FM radio that I think it was a Ford commercial that said Santa wasn't real. As if kids don't ride in cars in November or in December. Yeah. How dare you, Ford?
Oh my God. The feeling you get in your heart when you hear Christmas commercials on the radio in October is the feeling I get in my heart when I think about you eating a crumbly everything bagel in a bathtub. I just want you to know that. Just so you can understand. All right. Should we talk about this book?
I would love to. Guys, we decided that we were going to read How the Dukes Stole Christmas, which is a historical smorgasbord.
A holiday romance anthology.
That's the one. And
featuring
Tessa Dare and Sarah MacLean.
And Sophie Jordan and Joanna Shupe.
So we've decided, here's how we're doing it. We're going to do one episode where each of us reads or chooses one of the stories and tells it to the other one.
We're doing this tingle style.
We're doing it tingle style because Christmas should always tingle. It should always be the
jingle. Wait, it's jingle style. Oh God, I hate myself. Oh God, no,
I don't.
No,
it's got to tingle.
I hate everything about myself for saying it.
Christmas should tingle.
That's fine.
And then we're gonna do 2 Patreon episodes where we tell each other the other 2 stories.
The other 2. All right.
So
you read the Sarah MacLean, right?
I read, for this one, yes, I read the Tessa Dare and the Sarah MacLean.
Mm-hmm.
So
what did you do for this one?
I'm going to tell you about the Tessa Dare story.
Oh, I thought you read the Sarah MacLean. Okay. All right.
Okay. What did you read for this one?
I read Heiress Alone by Sophie Jordan.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah. So we're going to have America Times for the Patreon.
Really?
Because Joanna Shupe usually does America Times.
Oh.
She does Gilded Age America a lot.
What is that even? It doesn't matter. I don't want to know. Don't tell me.
Fair. Okay.
Nancy will email us about it anyway. So even whether you tell me or not, I'm going to find out.
Okay. Tell me.
Oh, I'm going first. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Wait a minute.
Tell me all about Sophie Jordan's masterpiece.
All right, guys, picture it.
Oh,
Highlander time.
We're in Highlander time.
All right, we're in a castle in the Highlands. Guess what time of the year it is?
I think it might be Christmas.
It's Christmas time.
Wait, Erin. So there are kilts and mistletoe. There are kilts.
There was, as far as I saw, there was nary a kilt. I know somebody was wrapped up in tartan at one point, but I did not hear shit about a kilt. I think because it's winter, because that would be cold, I would think.
Do kilts not happen in winter?
I don't know. We got some emails and some Facebooks about people wearing pants under kilts, but they definitely didn't mention a kilt if there was a kilt. anywhere to be had.
All right.
And
but there
were a lot of descriptions of pants.
Ooh, I like where that's going.
Yeah. So we have a woman whose first name is Annis. Is that Annis or Anise?
Annis.
It's Annis? Okay.
I would say that. Anise
right.
is Anise.
Yeah, I thought so, but I don't know. I'm not a Scotland. Anyway, all right.
Fair. I'm not either. Yeah.
So, okay, but she is in England times. So we've got a time travel book here.
Oh, shit.
We've got another England times in Highlander times. She wakes up. She's in a Scottish castle in Highlander times.
Does she know how she got there?
Well, yes.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
But it's also confusing because she's like, this castle's empty. And she's like, hello? And like, no one's answering her. And she's like, oh my God, I just got fucking home alone.
No.
Home alone.
She got home alone in
She got
Highlander
home
times?
alone in Highlander times. So her family, who is the fucking worst. She's got a mom and a dad and a mess of sisters whose names I did not learn and do not care to know, but they all fucking suck.
Wow.
And they were like, you know what? Let's go back to England times. And they went in that phone booth and
they got
jutted
in the
on
time
back
machine?
Mm-hmm.
How dare they? You gotta make sure all the hatchlings are accounted for, you know?
Yeah, they did not.
Jesus.
And so she's all like, hi, family, because they had planned on leaving the next day. And then I guess they all got up this morning. Oh, poor Annis was up late reading by candlelight, so she slept in. She's usually an early riser, but this book was just too captivating. We've all been there, guys.
I hear you.
And so she slept in. Her family got up early, like they usually do, and they were like, oh shit, a big snowstorm's coming. We've got to get out of here now. And they fucking booked it out of Highlander times. And so she is alone in this castle. So she's like, oh shit, my family left me, but also unsurprising because they're terrible. And so she goes downstairs. She pulled it's cold in this castle.
Okay.
She pulled her shawl tighter around her shoulders and stepped down onto the damp stone floor of the kitchen, greeted by Fenella's humming. Hashtag justice for Fenella!
Justice for Fenella!
Justice for Fenella! We get justice for
Fenella's
Fenella in this book.
Finally gonna get justice.
Fenella is a super old lady who is a maid. And she has a brother named Angus, who's a super old man who is the groundskeeper, and they take care of this castle. And they are cool as fuck, especially Fenella. All right.
Great.
So they discuss, like, she's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, I don't know. I guess my family left me. And they're like, oh, man, fuck, that sucks. And Fenella really super likes Annis and hates the rest of the family. You can kind of tell. And Annis is basically like, well, it's okay. I'm sure my dad will figure it out and send a carriage back for me. And Angus is like, oh, no, there's like 1,000 feet of snow outside. Like, you're here until March. So what I really like is that she starts thinking like, oh no, she's going to be here until March. Like, she's not going to be able to go back to Christmas in town. She keeps saying town. I don't know if that's London or what.
That's London.
But she's like, okay, I don't get to have Christmas in town with my big boisterous family and carolers and holly and, you know, the goose and the, you know, all the stuff. But then she was like, wait a minute. Christmas alone in the countryside, and all I have to do is read my book and not give a fuck about anything and like not see my family. Like, that's also okay too. So she's kind of sad, but she's also kind of like, this is the best.
Yeah. Also, wait, that phone booth is much less spry than I thought it would be.
What do you mean?
You know what I mean? I mean, I think the phone booth should be able to traverse even 1,000 feet of snow. It goes between dimensions.
Oh, right.
Like,
You're correct. You're correct. I'm sorry. This is a carriage of time travels.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I guess maybe they had to take a carriage to get to the phone booth to do the time traveling.
Yeah. No, that makes sense too. Yeah.
Because the carriage can't go across the sea. So, you know. All right. So then she's asleep in the castle, and all of a sudden she hears voices downstairs. And she goes to the landing of the stairs, and she sees a man, a big, burly, wonderful man.
Oh.
She's like in her bedclothes on the stairs, and she's watching him talk to Fenella. Yeah. And then Her breath caught in her chest. A great bubble locked inside her as the man's bright stare fixed on her, except he wasn't a stranger. Unfortunately, she knew him.
Oh, no.
Indeed, she remembered him well. The dark eyes, the handsome face. Oh, yes, she knew this man. She'd know him anywhere. Mortification flooded her as she recalled his frosty gaze skimming her like she was a bit of vermin dragged in by the cat.
That doesn't sound sexy.
No, it does not at all.
Wow.
So she's like, get out of my house. And then a flashback to 9 days ago.
Oh, no.
So basically, her family's super duper rich. They're named the Ballisters.
Okay.
Annis Ballister. And they all tumbled out of their carriage, her and her 17 sisters or whatever, at this duke's castle. And there was a guy standing there who's like a work person, I guess. And so her sister pushes her out of the carriage like an asshole just to be a dick, pushes her into the snow. And so Annis goes face down into the snow and is trying to get up. And then the other two of the other sisters start fighting about who's going to get to marry the Duke. So basically, the parents have brought them here to be like, here are my daughters, pick one to marry you, because they're like this super rich family, but the Duke has a title.
Yeah.
And so these other two start fighting each other. One of them punches the other one in the face. Like, these sisters are just insufferable. No one helps Annis up. She's just like caught in the middle of this thing. So there's this guy standing here, and he's like, okay, I think you guys should leave. All right, let me find his description here. Annis blew at the snow flecking her lips. She looked up, freezing, as she locked eyes on a pair of well-worn boots directly in her line of vision. This is a non-kilt. She pushed up on her stinging elbows, followed the path of boots over a snug, well-worn breeches, and up the long body to the humorless, deep-set eyes staring down at her. Flat stare, unsmiling lips, his square jaw was locked tight. He needed to shave. Bristle dusted his jaw, but even that did not detract from his handsomeness.
Yes, please.
The man made no move to help her.
Oh, no.
So anyway, so they're all like, I want to marry the Duke, and like stomping and whatever. And the guy's basically like, you should go. The Duke has nothing to say to you, and his home is not open for guests, and get out of here. Which is, you guys, super rude for Highlander times. I've learned from reading books recently over the past year. Super rude. You have to let people into your house in Highlander times. And he's just like, fuck off. And the dad's like, well, you're going to take us to the Duke right now. And he's like, no, I'm not. He's not taking visitors. And he's like, well, he should fucking fire you. And then the guy's like, I'm the Duke. Get out of my face. Whoa. Leave my house.
I knew that was coming.
What a twist. I know. I tried to twist it, but it's like so obvious.
Yeah, it's really good though.
Yeah, anyway.
It's really good.
So she's mortified because she was like all on the snow and stuff. And like she was humiliated by her sisters in front of this guy. And now he's downstairs.
Wait, so are we at a different castle?
No, yeah. So they actually own this castle that they're shacked up in. So this is her house or her dad's house. Someday will be her house or whatever. So this is her house. And so when he's barged into her house, she's very like, this is my place. You will get out, you know?
Yeah.
So now we're in present now times. Her gaze raked his tall form. In his well-worn greatcoat, the man looked more like a common laborer than a nobleman. He was coarse and rough and ... virile.
Yeah.
Okay, so he says he's there because there are thieves that are going around because it's a snowstorm and stuff. They're going around to the abandoned castles and houses, and they're taking all the shit.
Oh, I love a marauder plot line.
Yeah. Oh, this story is so fucking good, you guys. I don't know who is this. Which one is this? Oh no, which author is this now?
It's Sophie Jordan.
Sophie Jordan. Sorry, I almost said Joanna Shupe, and I knew that was wrong. You guys, I don't know a Sophie Jordan, but I know now that I enjoy a Sophie Jordan. I didn't know. All right, guys. Okay, so they're all going around all the empty castles, and he knew that Fenella and Angus were old as shit, and they were in this castle alone, so he didn't want these thieves to come upon them, and who knows what. So he's come to fetch Fenella and Angus. And what's-her-face is like, no, you're not fetching anyone. We're fine. We can bolt the doors. We're not idiots. Like, we can lock up. And he's like, no, are you an idiot? Like, they will get through the doors. Like, you're coming with me. And she's all like, no.
It's sort of their business. Their work
and so
jobs.
He stomps up the stairs Like, what's the other one where he stomped up the stairs after coming back from his sailboat?
Does he throw her over his shoulder?
No, God, he threatens to, though.
He does.
What was the one where he was on, like, he was all tan and he had a sailboat?
Yeah. No, don't worry. That was the Anne. Ball sacks.
Fuck balls. There was a kitten.
Anne Gracie.
Yeah. It's like that one.
The Autumn Bride.
So she's like, get out. And he's like, fuck you. No, he doesn't say that. But he goes up the stairs and he's like, I'm taking you back. I'll throw you over my shoulder if necessary, sort of thing.
Are you going to walk or do I have to carry you?
Yeah. So eventually he's like, what do you want to have happen here? Because if they come here, those two are going to sacrifice their lives to save you. And is that what you want? And she's like, okay, like, I got it.
Yeah.
So then he only has 2 horses because he expected Fenella and Angus to be on one horse and him to be on the other horse.
Sure. No, I hear that.
And she does some math. She thinks in her brain,
I wonder how this is going to work.
Yeah, she says something to the effect of like, okay, well, I'm not great at math and science, but like I can do simple math and I don't know how this horse thing is going to work. Maybe it'll be like me and Fenella on one and him and Angus on the other. And nope. He just scoops her right up and
he does.
Puts her right on that horse.
With his dude muscles.
With
his rough neckery.
Oh, but before they go, Fenella, he's like, gather your belongings. Fenella grabs this book and he's like, do you really super need this like little ledger? And she's like, this is my magical book. It's full of magic recipes. And she's like, hey, guess who's super pretty is Annis. You should get on that. And he's like, I'm not getting married to anybody. I don't want any of that. And so she's got this magic book and she's like, there's magic recipes in this pages and I need them. And he's like, what do you mean magic recipes? Like spells? And she's like, bite your tongue. I'm no witch. And then she's like, but yes, there's spells and I need to make you this shortbread. And then she
shortbread?
Says,
we have another time travel element. I'm so glad I chose the dare. Okay.
Yeah.
Keep going.
She says, 'tis no ordinary shortbread to be certain. Love biscuits, I. And so he's just like, what an idiot. She wants to make me love biscuits. Anyway, so everybody piles on the horses.
Yeah.
And they go off and it's very cold.
She's up in front of him.
Yep, she's up in front of him. And she's against all of the hard body and all this stuff.
And he's against that booty.
Oh, yeah. And she's all wrapped up in his blah, blah, blah.
His tartan, maybe? His greatcoat? Yeah.
Sinclair is his name. Oh, sorry, guys. His name's Sinclair. I forget his first name for a moment, but it'll come to me. Start with the C.
Yeah.
I'll find it.
Come to you.
Sinclair muttered something and pulled her against his chest. She'd been trying so valiantly to keep herself from leaning back into him. Now he brought her in closer, opening his greatcoat to snuggle her inside, sharing his warmth. She parted her chattering teeth. You don't have to. Quiet, he growled.
Yeah.
She sniffed. You don't have to be rude. You're shaking so hard, your teeth are clattering, he said. So anyway, the next 4 chapters take place on this horse of them just bickering back and forth on the horse.
Ooh, that is Erin catnip.
It is really great. He says hey, your super frilly coat is not good enough for this climate. She says, I'm not accustomed to this climate. He says, did you tell your parents that? And then he reveals to her that he thinks her parents left her deliberately for this situation to happen so that he'd have forced proximity with her and fall in love with her or whatever. And she's super offended by this notion. Yeah. She's like, that's not what happened. And I don't give a shit about your title. And I don't want to marry you. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm sure. I think he scoffs indeed in a sarcastic way. Because she reveals that she wants to be a nun. It's her life's ambition to be a nun. So she doesn't give a shit about being a duchess.
Wow, things I cannot relate to. All right, here we go.
Oh, you're going to relate. Just give me a minute.
I just mean I don't relate to the initial impulse. The life's ambition part. That would never cross my mind. Never.
Well, he goes, why do you want to be a nun, basically? Yeah. And keep in mind, he's feeling on her body a little bit. You know, he's got his arms around her and he's like, this chick should not be a nun because she's built for fucking. Anyway, so basically.
She got them childbearing hips.
Yeah. So this is her response. My days spent in thoughtful contemplation, no shrieking siblings, time to garden, tranquil walks, time to read books on history and science, Abby's boast impressive libraries, you know. And prayer, he reminded her, amused that she had failed to list that rather significant detail. Do not forget the hours devoted to prayer. Yes, of course, prayer, she nodded, somewhat agitatedly. I know that, she snapped. Did she truly know that, though? Had she given that part of becoming a nun serious consideration? Do you, he said, because it sounds like you're contemplating a nunnery to escape your family. Well, you're mistaken, she said. I'm a very spiritual person. Yeah, so it's just a lot of good stuff. Calder, who is the guy, suddenly realizes that he's smiling for the first time in a long time, joking around with her. Ooh. And then it says it might be the middle of the night and he might be freezing his balls off, but the laugh was damn diverting. In fact, he had been smiling throughout this entire conversation. He could not recall a time when he had enjoyed a female so much. He killed his smile. She was not enjoyable. She was unacceptable in every way. An English heiress with an insufferable family. She knew nothing of the Highlands, not its customs nor its people. Oh, and there was not the minor fact that she planned to be a nun. All right, so after 3 chapters of banter, we get, all of a sudden, jumping out of the shadows are
Marauders.
Looters. So,
bandits.
Yes. So, they jump off their horses and they hide in the shadows or the trees or some such, and they wait for these guys to pass. And then while they're hiding, she becomes scared. And do you know what she does?
What does she do?
She grabs his hand. It's great. It's a beautiful little handhold. She knows every little callus and part of his hand, and it goes right to her lady parts. And then they're gone, and she realizes she's still holding his hand. And she's like, oh no, this is so awkward. I've never held a man's hand before, and it feels so good, and, So she jerks her hand back, and then she slips on some ice, and then she cracks the shit out of her head. Has no idea. Everything goes black.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
She concusses herself?
Real bad.
Golly.
So then we go to Calder, which is his name, and he runs unconscious Annis into his castle and is basically like, we got to get her warm. So he directly to the bedchamber, gets her into that bedchamber. His maid, who's Mrs. Somebody such and such.
Yeah. Mac such and such, probably.
No, it's like something. Anyway, strips her down. He's not really a part of this whole stripping her down situation. They get her.
Unfortunate.
I think he's making the fire while the maid does that. He's trying to be a gentleman.
No, I hear you.
They get her under the covers and they make the fire. He notices his castle's been decorated for Christmas. He also notices she's like way too pale and like waxy looking and just not doing well. And he talks to the maid, who's kind of also a midwife and kind of a healer sort of person. Yeah. And he's like, well, what do we do? What's next? What happens now? And she's like, either she wakes up or she doesn't wake up. So if she wakes up, I'm sure she'll be fine. If she doesn't wake up, she's dead.
Man. Hashtag Highlander times medicine.
We don't have a great understanding of brain hemorrhaging. But really, that's kind of like now times, too. If you fall down and hit your head hiking or something and there's nobody around, it's either you
wake up or you don't.
Yeah. So he's freaking out. Then we realize that his whole family died of cholera in the same week 20 years ago on Christmas.
Oh, geez.
And so the maid tells him, all you can do is wait and pray. And he's like, well, I'm not really great at waiting or praying. And then he thinks about when he was a child and his whole family had cholera, kneeling in front of the nativity scene, the same one that's sitting right there in his bedroom, and praying and praying and praying for his family to be well, and still he lost them.
Oh, no. That
horrifying.
Is quite the wound.
It was.
Oh, no.
So then he's looking back at this woman who he's kind of developed feelings for on this horse ride, and he's like, well, what if she doesn't wake up? This is bad. And so he feels her forehead, and it's ice cold. And he's like, no. We've got a roaring fire. She's under the blankets. What else is there to do?
You got to get in there. You got to strip down to your skivvies, and you got to jump in.
He strips down to his nothing.
Yeah, you better snuggle the shit out of her.
God. All right.
That's what you got to do. It's your duty.
Am I taking too long? I might be. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I don't care.
He supposed propriety. I am too. I loved this story. I wish this was a whole book. He supposed propriety had ceased to be consideration in the moment he fetched her from her castle and brought her to his. Not that he could have left her behind. Certainly taking off her clothes and placing her in his bed, no matter the urgent need, or that his housekeeper had performed the bulk of the task, pushed him well over the edge of propriety. She looked tiny in his big bed. Small and very alone, he stared down at her wan face. Her body needed heat. She needed him.
Yeah.
And then he says, damnation. And with fierce movements, he began yanking at his clothes. There was no time. He needed to act. Fabric ripped, but he didn't care. And he slid beneath the heavy coverlet and pulled her slim body against his. And he hissed at the instant of contact. Her skin was like ice. So anyway, they're both naked. They're laying there snuggling for like a night. Or at least the better part of the night.
I mean, and not to mention that, can I just say, this is like science, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Married people who sleep naked next to each other are happier for longer because just you get those happy release in your brain just from the skin to skin contact. Like the warmth is one thing, but human skin to skin contact is such an important recipe for healing and love and endurance.
This is going to be the most Erin versus Melody situation we've ever had because, you guys, it's also just really good for survival if you're in a survival situation. The only way, the best way to warm up in a survival situation is to get naked in a sleeping bag with somebody who's already naked.
Yeah.
And that is from episode 17 of The X-Files, Detour, the episode where Scully sings. Yeah. You guys want to talk X-Files ever? Get on that cult.
Also, that release of oxytocin and all the
but like
happy
mostly
things.
The body heat. You need that body heat cocooned up in there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And then all the rest of the good stuff, you know?
Do you know what Scully said? Wait, did Moulder say it? So one of them, they're in like the woods, stranded, Moulder and Scully. And one of them was like,
together?
What? Did you say that they ever get together?
No, I said, did they get naked together? Were they in the same?
No, so they're just in the forest. They were not prepared to spend the night and they were so cold, and one of them's injured. It's definitely Moulder's injured, and Scully's gonna stay awake to make sure the monster doesn't come back. He says something like the best way to get warm in a survival situation is to crawl naked in a sleeping bag with somebody who's already naked. And you know what she says?
What does she say?
Well, if it starts raining sleeping bags, maybe you'll get lucky. It's a great show. Okay, so yeah, he's like rubbing up on her, but he's trying to rub her back, like I don't know how to say it, like back and forth, like to warm her up and stuff. Yeah. And he's very like, oh God, like I could definitely look at her boobs right now, but I'm not going to, sort of situation.
He's a gentleman.
Yeah. His narrative of that evening ends with, it's going to be a long night.
Oh.
Yeah. She's doing like little moans in her sleep. And he's like, yeah. Anyway, so.
He's thinking about how to make her moan in other ways.
Yeah.
With his penis.
Right. So then, during that night, Fenella, the witchy one, bursts in with her magic love biscuits, sees them naked together in the bed, and says, oh, good, just as I'd hoped. I'm just dropping off my love biscuits, and you need to eat one. And then as soon as she comes to, feed her one, too, and then you guys will fall in love, and it'll be perfect. So he's like, okay, eats one, and they're terrible. So you guys, the recipe that follows up this one, I think is supposed to be terrible. There was some discussion in the cult about how it turns out terrible. I think that's supposed to be how it is. Anyway, she wakes up. He's asleep. They're tangled in each other's arms.
Just so tangled.
She is all about it. She's like looking at his super handsome face. She's feeling his warmth. She's got his body all up against her. And she's like, oh, I don't know if I super want to be a nun. I didn't know I never really thought twice about the whole man thing.
Yeah. I'd never known the rugged handsomeness of that jawline.
And then she starts touching him in the interest of science.
Yes.
Because she needs to know, to make a truly educated decision about being a nun, she must understand what she is missing. And what better way to take advantage of it now than, before she takes the oath. This is a perfect opportunity to feel up on a man. And so she's kind of like stroking his arms, putting her hands on his chest, and like all that. And then he wakes up and he's like,
does he wake up in more than one place?
Oh yeah, he's super rock hard, of course. And he wakes up, they're looking into each other's eyes. He waits for her ladylike sensibilities to take over and her to start screaming and be like, we're naked in bed with each other, how dare you, or whatever. Only it never came. Her fingers flexed on his shoulders, and that was when he realized she was touching him voluntarily. His mind may have been slow to process, but his body had known. And then she just whispers, I always wondered Her hands trailed down his shoulders to his chest, and her eyes brightly curious, perhaps dazed, perhaps it was the lump on her head. This is from his perspective.
Yeah.
He needed to be sensible for both of them. He should climb out of bed and put the space between them. Put his clothes back on. Stride from the room until this inconvenient desire ebbed. Instead, he asked, "What did you wonder?"
Yeah.
She looked up from his chest, her eyes hooded beneath her lashes. "I wondered how it might be with a man." And then they just get closer and closer, their faces, and he's like, "You're clearly suffering from a head injury." And she's like, "Oh, is that what you think?" And he's like, "She's a siren." And then they make out, and it's so good. And he's like, "How did you learn to kiss like that?" And she smiles and says, "I've kissed a few boys." And he's like, "Boys?" And he's like, "Oh, I hate the thought of her kissing a bunch of boys
course.
back in England." But then he says, "Calder." And she says, "I beg your pardon." And he says, "My name is Calder, and I don't care how many boys you've kissed, Annis," he declared, "because I'm the first man."
Oh, boy.
So good. So he's like, it's on. So he's like touching up on her boobs. He like pulls her up so she's astride him. He's like touching her. She's arching her back. It's all the stuff. He flips her over so he's on top of her. And she's all like, "I'm all in. Let's do this. I'm ready to go." And guess who comes in? Fucking one of those maids. I forget which one. Let me check which one.
Dare they?
Yep.
Mix so-and-so. Get out of here.
The worst. Yeah, get out of here. It's the bad one. Yeah, it's Miss Benfitty. So anyway, the mood is broken. They put on their clothes. Then Annis finds out that he ate one of the biscuits. The special magic biscuits. Right. And she learned about those on the horse ride. And then she doesn't believe in magic, but she's like, that must be it. That must be, he's bewitched by the magic biscuit. And that's why he got up on me. I'm plain and dull and my family hates me.
Annis.
And Annis. Yeah. So then Fenella comes in, the good maid.
Yes.
And he has to go fortify the castle against the marauders. And so what's-her-face is left in the room. Fenella comes in and she's like, Annis is like, "I need my own room. First of all, 100% need to get out of here because this is a temptation.
Den of iniquity.
Yeah. And Fenella's like, yeah, we'll get your own room. But first you need a bath and we're going to put you in a real fancy dress so you look real pretty when he comes back. And he won't be back until tonight.
And also, have you eaten a biscuit?
Yeah, she was very pushy on the biscuits, but Annis didn't eat one. So she's like, just take your bath in here because we've already got all the stuff. And then we'll get you into a new room and we'll get you in a real pretty dress so he falls in love with you. And Annis is just like, whatever. So she takes the bath. Well, he comes back while she's taking a bath in his bed chamber.
And she's probably eating an everything bagel. Yeah.
Gross. Just so gross. Also, Fenella says, "I suspect he was already in love with you before he ate the shortbread, so don't think it's the shortbread." Because Annis is like, "You bewitched him with your love biscuits, and that's why he likes me." And Fenella's trying to push it, and she's like, So her in the bath is like the most erotic thing he's ever seen.
Yeah.
Then, shrugging, he moved toward a bench to position near the fireplace. Lowering down to it, he began tugging off his boots. Like, he's just like, "This is my fucking room. You're in it." So, like, and then he jokes around and he's like, "You have any room in that bathtub for me? Because I've been working hard and doing man stuff, so let's do this.
I gotta wash the rugged man off of me. Onto you."
So she shrieks, jumps out of the bathtub, puts on her shift, which, by the way, just becomes translucent and sticky to her. And she's like, don't you have any decency?" And he's like, "I rescued you from the imminent descent of brigands, saved you from certain freezing. I think you've passed any measure for decency," which I thought was really funny. But anyway, he accuses her of taking the bath in his bedchamber because she wanted to set it up and she wanted him to return. She's like, "No, I would never do such a thing." Then, all right, so he approaches her. He no longer thinks she's trying to trap him into marriage. He thinks she truly likes him and not his title. She says, "I'm not trying to trap you." He says, "I know that." And she's like, "Well, then what's happening here?"
And he's like, "Animal magnetism."
And he's like,
"Fate."
And he's like,
the cosmos.
And he's like, this, he said, the word sick in the space between them as he reached down and tugged her shift free. He tossed it aside, and then it's on. They're all over it. He's like bending her over. It's great. There's a lot of boob stuff. There's a lot of growling against her lips. There's a lot of everything. And then fucking Fenella comes in the room, and he's like, why does no one knock in this fucking castle?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I can't. I'll leave you here. Blah, blah, blah. So then the mood is broken.
Ugh.
Again.
Their mood is so fragile. Honestly. Yeah. Power through.
Okay, so then she goes back to another room, I think. Yeah, she gets pissed at him, I think. She's like, we're not doing this. I'm going to go be a nun. You're seducing me. You're bewitched by the biscuits, and I'm getting my own room. And she goes and reads. She goes and fucks off and reads in her own room. So then he comes to her room and is like, hey, do you want to go collect some holly? Because the maids think that we need more holly for the decorations for Christmas. Do you want to go bundle up and get some holly? And she's like, okay. And so they're walking around. They're sitting on a bench. They're talking about how they have feelings for each other, and it's very sweet. And he's all like, still want to be a nun? Because kissing a man like this is not really nun behavior. And she's like, do you still hate Christmas? Because what a great Christmas this is. And he's like, Christmas is starting to grow on me. And then it's like fucking... No,
nobody comes in. How dare they?
They're outside. No one can come in.
No, I know, but nobody saunters by.
No, shots ring out. Fucking
marauders. Oh no.
And then his men are there, and he's like, they duck behind a wagon or some such. Yeah. And then he's like, Seamus, my man, take the lass and go back to the castle. And she's like, no, I'll not leave you here to die.
Oh.
And he's like, you must. I'll create a diversion, and then the two of you run away. And she's like, no, they'll murder you and stuff.
Yeah.
So his diversion is stepping out from behind the carriage in front of the marauders, waving his arms and saying, I'm the Duke of Sinclair, Laird of the Gincrane. And then the gunfire stops, and Seamus and Annis run. And she's like, no, I can't run. And this guy basically like potato sacks her back to the castle.
He's got orders.
And she's freaking out. She's in love with him now, all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And she's like trying to climb the ladder to get to the top of the castle so that she can see
what's happening.
She's halfway up that ladder. All the maids and everybody's just like, Annis, don't go up there. And then all of a sudden, Calder comes through the door, bursts through the door.
Oh, good.
But he's injured.
Oh, no. Has he been shot?
I don't remember. But
wow.
No, I don't think he could have been shot because
muskets were very inaccurate?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but they did hear some shots ring out before he came through the door.
Yeah.
And she's really, really upset about it. But he's not hurt too bad, because they go into a room and he kicks that door closed, and they just fucking go at each other. It's on TM 100%. No one's coming in that door. They just crash into each other. Clothes everywhere.
You keep your bandages to yourself, servants.
Yep. And so they just, super do it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Is it good? Is it good?
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Excellent.
Let's see here. Yeah, so it's right after the sex. He tells her that he ate another fucking biscuit.
Honestly.
She's like,
you're just playing into her insecurities.
Eating those fucking biscuits. And he's like, it's not the biscuits. I like you. It's not about the biscuits. And she's like, well, I think I need to be alone. And he's like, alone? Your goddamn need to always be alone, because it's like the nunnery thing. He's pissed that she's going to be a nun and stuff. And they get in like a little spat.
And this is after they bone, right?
Yeah, this is immediately post-boning.
Ugh. Worst pillow talk ever. Conran. What's his name?
Calder.
Yeah,
she started it, though.
Oh, okay.
She's all like, did you eat another biscuit? And he's just being honest. But it's not the fucking biscuits. It's love, you know?
It's love.
Yeah, and Christmas. So...
Also that.
Guess what happens?
Marauders.
They come inside the castle!
No!
Yeah.
Well, they're not allowed in there?
Yeah, so they're... So they're inside the castle. They're getting all the shit. They're marauding. They're just taking all the stuff, and she's crying, and he's upset, and because they burst in, and they're like, maybe we'll take a little piece of dad ass too about Annis. You know, it's bad. So he's just letting him steal everything.
Except for dead ass, though. Mm-hmm. He would never.
No, he would never. But like all the material things.
Yeah.
Then they see Fenella clutching that book to her breast. And they're like, what's that book? And Fenella's like, fuck you, no. This is my spell book of special spells. And Calder is like, yeah, that's her special spell book of special spells that's full of bewitching enchantments that is the most valuable thing in this whole house. And, you know, what you should do is you should take that and leave everything else because witches.
Yeah.
And if she gives you her permission to take that and leave everything else, your journey. Oh, I totally skipped over it. There's like a sexy maid that he like used to have sex with, or like maybe, I don't know. There's like a sexy maid that's trying to get on him that he's like not
Millie?
About. She's not a Millie though. It's not like that at all.
Okay.
He like goes down to the stable. She's trying to get her boobs up on it. I don't know if he ever even had sex with her. I think he's flirted with her, you know, kind of like entertained her. Advances, but I don't think he's actually boned her.
Okay, because hashtag personhood for Millie.
Yeah, but there's personhood for this bitch. She just sucks.
Great.
And she gets mad that he's now pursuing the English lass, and she let the Marauders in because they're going to take her to America with them. Yeah.
Addictive.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I feel like it is kind of justice for Millie, because if Millie had been the murderer in that book, I would have been fine with it. Yeah. So anyway, she's the evil one. She let the Marauders in. Basically, they decide to take the spell book instead of all the stuff. So they leave the stuff. They take the spell book. He basically says to Annis, hey, I concocted this plan so that you'd understand from here on out that it's not spells or bewitchments, that I do love you. And so there's no
dead ass.
Yeah, there's no spell book around. There's only ass, and only your ass for me.
Yeah.
And that's it. He asked her to marry him, and she's going to marry him up and live there forever in the Highlands with him in Highlander times.
Wow.
Yeah. And right after the proposal, they're snuggling up, and she says, you know what that means, don't you? You get my family too.
Ugh.
So she grinned at his muttered curse against her throat and merrily said about divesting him of his clothing. And that's the last sentence in the book.
Oh, what?
It was great. It was very exciting.
Tale.
A lot of stuff going on the whole time. It was great.
Yeah.
And the sex was sexy.
Oh, I dig it. Mm-hmm. All right. So a Sophie Jordan. We'll have to do another Sophie Jordan full novel at some point.
Oh, yeah. She's fantastic, it turns out.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. So I read Meet Me in Mayfair by Tessa Dare for
Our
this
friend.
one. Our friend, Tessa Dare. Tessa, holy balls, Dare. Okay, so I've noticed with at least the Dare and the MacLean, there was a little bit of like theme borrowing. And so this is very akin to Meet Me in St. Louis.
Okay.
It has like similar themes. So chapter 1, we open up and we meet Louisa.
Wait, but is it in America times or is it in England times?
No, this is firmly England times.
Okay.
For the more studious and specific, it is Regency.
How dare you?
Fully Regency.
How dare you call me not studious and non-specific?
Right. No, I know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so she's getting ready for a ball, and we learn.
Wait, what's her name again?
Louisa.
Louisa. Got it.
Yes. So Louisa Ward is getting ready for a ball, and all of her sisters are around her, like beautifying her up so that she can win herself a suitor. She has to win herself a suitor.
Mm-hmm.
She's been to many a ball in the ton, with the ton on the town. And in the town, I don't know. But this one is where she's got to make it count. All right. She has got to find herself a husband.
Why
tonight.
is this one?
Why? Because.
Should I not ask questions? Sorry.
No, it's fine. Well, because we find out like in bits and pieces throughout the book, but I'll just give you the setup to start because I think it's easier that way.
Okay.
She's got 5 siblings. There's 3 boys and 3 girls, and then her mother and father. They've got a really, really happy family. They live in a townhouse in Mayfair, which is like the hoity-toity end of England times. And they got this house by borrowing a bunch of money from a friendly duke years and years ago, like 20 years ago. This guy lent her dad a bunch of money so that he could buy this townhouse, and then never called in the payments. Oh. And so it was like sort of understood between him and the duke that it was going to be forgiven. Then all of a sudden, that Duke croaks without making any specificity in a will or any paperwork. He didn't deed the house over to them. Next Duke rolls in, and he calls in the debt with compounded interest of the past 20 years. Yeah. And so they're in a position now where they either need to pay off the house immediately or, and this is like several $1,000s. So I think we're talking like in the millions now. This is a lot of monies. Or they need to vacate and he's going to sell the house to someone else.
Or he's going to fuck your daughter. Right?
Or he might fuck her brains out.
I get it.
Okay.
Right.
So, the Duke of Thorndale.
Grumpy, shitty Duke is actually a nice guy.
Yes.
He's gonna do sex on her.
That's the one.
I'm psyched.
So, yeah. So she needs to find herself a husband because the whole hope is she's the eldest daughter. The whole hope is she can find herself a landed and moneyed prospect so that he will pay off their house for them and they don't have to move to the Isle of Jersey, which is apparently a desolate place in between there and France that belongs to England. And she is not looking forward to living there because London has been her home and she would miss the ton.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
No one wants to move to Jersey.
Nobody. Oi. But yeah.
You almost repeated it.
I almost did.
Nobody wants to. Wait a minute. That's where I've lived for so many years. I moved here once and then I moved back. I know.
Okay.
You forgot for a good 2 seconds.
I did. I'm just too agreeable. So then she's got this adorable, just eat her face little sister. She's so great.
Ugh.
She's precocious.
God.
She's excellent. She's like 11 years old or something.
No, get out of my books.
No, guess what she has, Erin?
I don't know. An aging potion where she's over 18 and like a part of the story.
Fuck you. She's got Fenella's ratty ass cookbook.
She's got it. What? Of this one?
She's got Fenella's cookbook. Yeah.
Wait, the cookbook is a through device?
I don't know. Maybe.
Does it say Fenella's cookbook?
It doesn't. What it says is, all right, so she says, I need you to eat this plate of shortbread.
Uh-huh.
And Louise is like, oh, fuck no. I'm not eating your shortbread. That's crazy. Like, it says her youngest sister's experiments in baking could be downright vicious. When you took a bite, they bit back. And Kat sings, it's delicious, waving the shortbread under her nose. And then...
Oh, is the shortbread in every book? I'm so excited.
There's shortbread. Yeah, there's shortbread in the MacLean book, too.
I'm reading the shortbread recipe now.
She said, you must eat this, Louisa. While I was packing the books into crates, I found the recipe in a moldy little collection of Scottish folklore. One bite, and every man you meet will fall in love with you. It's guaranteed to make you irresistible.
Aww.
And of course, Louisa responds with, guaranteed to make me vomit, I warrant. But, that's neither here nor there.
Can I just say something about the shortbread recipe? Have you read it?
No, I haven't.
I just read it. And it's in every book. And it's Sarah MacLean's family shortbread recipe. So I want to apologize for earlier in the podcast, I said that because somebody it didn't work for on the cult and they posted like, this shortbread didn't work for me. Can somebody help me figure it out? So I assumed it was shitty like it was in the Sophie Jordan book, but it's not actually. It's shitty
also
in that
shitty
one too?
in the Dare book. Well, she burns them.
Oh,
she's
okay.
11. She burns them.
It says in Sarah MacLean's little narrative that it's not like the ones in Sophie Jordan.
Fair.
It's not like that. So it's probably good shortbread. I just want to apologize. And the last step is fall in love. Okay, bye. Go for it. Sorry.
Yeah, okay. So basically the whole family is depending on her. And meanwhile, they're like, you really need to like button it up. You need to behave tonight because her family is one of those families where all of the girls were raised to be strong-willed and opinionated. They were encouraged to speak their truths. And so she's used to going out on the town with the ton or something and having all of the gentlemen's be like, wow, you were pretty a minute ago, but now that you're telling me what you think and stuff, you gotta go.
Yeah.
So she says she didn't possess the kind of beauty that would make a man cross the room, much less convince him to overlook her quote-unquote flaws.
Aww.
She discouraged more than one would-be suitor with her free opinions and straightforward manner. In the Ward family, the 3 daughters were encouraged to read and learn and speak their minds in equal measure with their 3 brothers, a difficult habit to break. Tonight, she must try. So then Kat is like, all right, I'm telling you, this is ridiculous. First of all, we're doomed because you're never going to be able to hold your tongue. And second of all, why isn't the plan just to murder this motherfucker?
Yeah.
If I were the eldest...
Yes.
Yes.
This is my kind of book.
I know. And so Maggie, the other sister, is like, we've discussed this. Murdering the Duke is not a plan. And Kat, little precocious angel that she is, she goes, of course it isn't. Murdering the Duke is an objective. A plan requires specifics. A concealed pistol, a hidden dagger, poison-tipped darts.
Oh, so she's technically 11, but it's fine.
Exactly. I don't actually know if she's 11. I think I pulled that out of my ass. She might be 14.
Let's just imagine she's 18.
Let's do it. All right. So then Louisa looks in the mirror and she's trying to bolster herself. And she's like, I will carry myself with quiet grace. I will give every appearance of a docile, compliant bride. And I vow I will hold my tongue. Kat flopped onto the bed with a groan. We're doomed. And then it's really sad because she's like, it's not a duke that's going to be murdered tonight, but Louisa's own hopes of a loving marriage. And the man holding the sword to her breast was the cruel, heartless Duke of Thorndale. Oh, how she loathed the man.
Hold a sword to her breast, all right.
Yeah. He's going to skewer her with something, you know?
It's a penis.
All right. So
that's the one.
That's the one. So she goes to the ball and she meets up with her friend. It's actually her ball. Like her family's hosting this ball, the Carvilles or something. She goes to find her friend. Family? No, her friend Fiona.
Oh, okay. I'm like, Louisa, be prudent. You don't have money for no ball.
No.
Okay, all right, good.
No, her friend Fiona, she's the daughter of a lord, which makes her a something higher up than
she's
what's her name
Earl. I don't know.
That's the one.
I'm going to write a historical someday, and I'm just going to fuck it all up. I'm going to be like, this is Lady So-and-so. The Earl is something.
You know what? You were going to write the best Chuck Tingle-esque historical. It's going to be amazing.
My historicals would be Chuck and like, here we are in England times.
Ooh. Yep.
Yep. She pulled out her thistle buell. And
she has
herself with it. Yep.
And he's wearing a cravat. Tools of the trade. Okay.
The idea that you thought that I'd come up with the word cravat it honors me. Thank you.
I should have said ascot. You're right. Okay.
Bolo tie.
Okay. So she pulls Fiona aside and she's like about to tell her plan. She's going to be like, Fiona, I need you to introduce me to every eligible man in this room right now so we can fill up my dance card and make it happen. She cannot get those words out though, because Fiona immediately is like, I need you to take my dance card. I'm finally eloping with the love of my life tonight.
Well, Fiona.
Yeah. So Fiona has been in love with her dad's land agent's son for years. They've had this sweet, adorable romance. So now, obviously, she's there for a sister. You know what I mean? Louisa's like, of course I'll do this for you. You're making your dreams come true. Get thee to Scotland.
Yeah.
And I will take your incredibly shitty dance card, because this compounds her problem twofold. Not only does she not have the introductions from Fiona to all the eligible shmushma, but she knows that Fiona for years has been filling up her dance cards with the most ineligible / relatives of herself because she's in love with this man.
The son of the whatever?
Yeah.
Oh,
because she didn't want the opportunity to make an acquaintance with somebody her parents would want her to marry.
And now she gets to run off with James McAvoy from Atonement.
That's
Sorry,
the
it just
one.
really sounds like that relationship, you know, where he does her up good in the library.
That's, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now, so Louise,
if you guys
like,
watch that movie, stop after that scene and just imagine it ends good. Anyway.
Yeah, there's a flood I don't want to talk
rough.
about.
Yeah. Anyway,
something.
just stop it there. Don't watch that movie thinking you're going to see some good James McAvoy, Keira Knightley sex and then keep watching because just end it. End it after that library.
That is the HEA. Just have that in your brain.
That is the HEA.
Right.
That is the H-iest they're ever going to be. Anyway, all right.
Okay. So she's like, fuck, I have to be a good friend. So she does the whole thing, and then she looks down, and who's on the dance card right before dinner?
Fucking
but the Duke of Thorndale.
Oh, yes. Thorndale. Oh, I love that it's Thorndale. He's so prickly.
Nemesis.
Yeah. Enemies, true lovers.
That's the one. And meanwhile, I learned something about England times via this book.
What?
I didn't know that dinner happened at midnight in England times balls.
What?
They didn't eat until midnight, apparently.
Are they monsters? Is it that Christmas party from The Office? That dinner party? It's not a Christmas party. Dinner party from The Office where Jan doesn't make food until like 2 a.m.? Remember that?
Yeah, totally. Well, and not to mention that only 50% of the population is wearing a corset that would curb your appetite. And it was the 50% of the population that literally mattered to no one.
They had to have eaten at dinner time and then eaten again at midnight times.
Yeah, maybe it's like a snicky snack at midnight times.
Or maybe it's a sneaky snack at dinner times. It doesn't matter.
Maybe there are hors d'oeuvres throughout.
Ooh, that's my kind of party. That's nice.
Too. Just grabbing them off the plates. I will have 5 of those. Thank you. I always post up right outside the kitchen so that it's hot and fresh.
Right where that Hufflepuff common room is.
That's right. One time I actually drug a chair. I was pregnant and I drug a chair over to where the kitchen was so that I could sit and talk to my friends and get off my feet and get the hot and fresh hors d'oeuvres.
Like a party or a wedding or something?
It was a wedding.
Oh, yeah. Jesus. So you can catch the caterer coming out of the kitchen?
Yeah, because I'm the smartest in the land.
Will you please pull up a chair to the buffet at my wedding?
Yes.
I would.
Don't tempt me.
I would die for that photo. Please. Oh my God. Anyway, okay. Wait, we got to read this. We got to book it.
We got to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the dance happens.
Mm-hmm.
He's about to look around for his cousin because apparently they're cousins. And she comes up and she's like, "Hello, Duke of Thorndale." And he's like, "Have we been introduced?" Because remember, that's a thing in England times.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like, "No, but you're supposed to be dancing with Fiona. She gave me her dance card. She went upstairs with a headache. And I am to take over all of her dances. So we have to dance." And he's like, "You scheming England times wenches.
Mm-hmm.
You ladies who just nod your head and try to marry the only duke around.
Muffins.
You muffins." And she's like, "How dare you, sir? I am no muffin." She's like, "No, I'm just a friend who always keeps her promises. And I did this for a friend and I've got to do it. So we have to dance."
Mm-hmm.
So they go throughout the whole dance and there's a lot of really good hate banter because she hasn't come out and told him who she is. But it's really obvious that he does not like her. She does not like him. And it gets to the point where he says something and she's like, "Well, that wouldn't matter because neither of us want to form an acquaintance. So of course we wouldn't do that." And he's like, "Wait, hold on. You don't want to form an acquaintance with me?
I am a duke.
That's the duke one, is a me." And she's
the duke in this equation is me.
"That's the one." And so she's like, "No, I don't want to form an acquaintance with you. Frankly, you've been awful to me. You've insulted me. You've insulted my friend. You've insulted my family. You've insulted basically all of my principles. So no, I don't want to hang out with you ever again." And he's like, "Well, I think we should hang out at dinner. Why don't you let me escort you to dinner?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "What? Did you not hear the words that are coming out of my mouth? I don't want to."
Has he identified her as a sexy woman at this point?
He has. Yeah. He likes the blush to her cheeks, her silky, shiny brown hair, and the curviness of her bosoms.
Okay.
And, so he's noticed.
All right.
And he was really excited about it until he thought she was scheming.
I see.
So now he's like, "All right, well, if you're not going to let me escort you to dinner, then how about we dance again?" And she's like, "Oh, in England times.
Dance twice, same man. No, what will the people say?"
No, that means that you're about to propose.
Yeah.
Is literally apparently what happens.
Yeah.
And so they're like, no, by this point, everybody is already at dinner. They're alone in a ballroom with a bunch of servants that are cleaning up. And she's desperately trying to extricate herself from this conversation.
She's probably hungry.
Oh, she's probably starving.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
She's like, I don't care about the $1 million. I want that food.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she turns around to like scamper away if she possibly can, and she runs directly into a servant with a vat of mulled wine. So her cream dress is now covered in mulled red wine.
Oh no.
And she's like, oh my God, my night has gotten even worse because
so
I was
takes it off right there in the ballroom.
Oh, if only. But she's like, I already only had 50% of this ball to try to find a husband. And now I have no more of this ball because I have to go home. I'm covered in wine. And he's like, well, let me escort you. She's like, no. And he's like, I'm not going to let you get out of here without escorting you home. So we're going to go find my carriage.
I love him. What's his name again?
Yes. Thorndale.
Sure. Okay.
Thorndale.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's his first name?
James.
Okay. All right. I got it.
Yeah.
What color are his eyes? How dare you?
I don't know.
How
Sorry.
Dare you?
Green?
Sure.
I want to say.
I like it.
Green.
Okay, go.
Excellent.
All right.
Okay. So they go outside. He's looking around for his coach and he can't find it.
Yeah.
And then he can't identify his own family crest because he was never supposed to be the Duke.
Oh, he's the second one.
He's the second child.
Oh no, his brother died tragic.
He
did.
did.
Was it his fault? Kind of. Oh no,
it wasn't his fault. Kind of. No, it
it's
wasn't
usually
like
their
that.
fault.
But,
kind of.
Yeah, but in this case, he's got a lot of trust issues because his mom hated where he lives. So his backstory, real quick, is that he's from the north of England in Yorkshire.
Sure.
And it's a brutal place when it's hard to get around and the whatever. And so his mom gave the heir and the spare and then was like, I never want to see anyone again. And so she fucked off when he was really young. And he hasn't seen her since he was like a child.
Bad mom.
And then, and so he spent most of his childhood in solitude because the first son got sent off to spend time with his uncle, the Duke, to like learn how to be a Duke. And then he stayed home with his father, the second son, to learn how to manage the lands. So he's always been like sort of a roughneck, and he does country much better than he does town. And so he has no idea what his crest looks like. They're looking around. She's shivering. He gives her his coat. And his tail with the tails. Yeah. And then she's like, well, do you think it's that one over there with the roses on it? And he's
Thorns.
like, yeah. And he's like, what? How would you know that? And she's like, Thorndale, dude. Yeah. Like, come on. Deductive reasoning here.
Yeah.
So he goes to hand her up into the carriage. And what do they see? But the bare ass of a rutting coachman. Because the coachman has taken some liberties tonight, Erin. He has found himself an available sex worker. Ooh. And he has put her into the back of this coach.
And they just join them, and it's a happily ever after orgy in the coach.
It is just a
meet me in Mayfair.
Yum yum.
Nope.
No, that's not what happens.
That would be a terrible ending.
That
would be a tingler.
Okay, Tessa Dare just tingling? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or a blending.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't listen to My Dad or a Porno, do you?
No, not
That would
yet.
be a very Belinda blinked into that chapter, for sure.
Oh, okay. So, not only is he in there bare-assed pounding away, but Thorndale hasn't said anything. And he goes, close the door. I told you, you'll have your turn at her next.
Oh, God.
And then beneath him, the unseen woman moaned with feigned delight. Ooh, ooh, come to me, you magnificent stag.
Oh, gross. Gross.
It's so good. So he shuts the door. He turns her about face and he's like, look at the wall. Things are going to get ugly. And she's like, I am never in my life going to miss ugliness. And so she like peeks over her shoulder as he bodily pulls the coachman out, tosses him on the ground, like roughs him up a little bit.
Yeah.
And the coachman is like,
he's like,
get the fuck off of her. And the coachman is like, oh, my lord, or my whatever. I'm so sorry. My Duke. I could do.
Their grace.
I didn't mean to. That's the one.
Did you hear me just now?
You did. I did. I'm proud of you.
Good job, Erin.
Good job, Erin.
I know what to call a Duke. It's only been a year.
Okay. So the coachman gets fired and is firmly out of there. The sex worker slinks away into the night. And he's like, well, I would drive the coach myself, but it smells like terrible perfume and the pox back there. So I'm not putting you in that coach. She's like, okay, well, let's find a hackney. And he's like, I would never debase you by putting you in a hackney. And she's like, actually, that's the way my family travels. And I am not ashamed of that. We do not have your wealth. We do not have a coach.
Yeah.
Stop being so hoity-toity.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, hackney it is. But then there's no hackneys. And then it starts to snow. Yeah. And Louisa at this point has decided to turn lemons into lemonade.
And fuck that Duke. No?
Well, not yet.
Oh,
not
okay.
yet.
All right. I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself.
Her plan is to take him home. And then, because her father has been attempting to like get some mercy, like explain the situation, and has heard radio silence back. So she's like, if he escorts me home, he's going to have to talk to my father and explain to him why he has escorted me home.
Yeah.
And then my father will have the opportunity to be face to face with him and will be able to like maybe salvage this. So they start walking, and then it starts snowing, and she loves snow. And she's like, it's Christmas time and there's snow. And so she's like, you know what, Duke of Thorndale, thank you so much, but I don't need your escort anymore. I'm going to walk. Aww. And he's like, harm. I would never let a lady walk in the street, especially not a sexy lady. So I will escort you. Thank you very much.
He would let an ugly lady walk down the street. You know, he would.
He might. He certainly let that sex worker go.
Yeah, exactly.
And so she's basically like, you know, she's got her scheming hands up, and she's like, excellent. And he's just falling right into my plan. So he starts maligning London and how the town is terrible and how Yorkshire is so much better. And she's like, you're being really ignorant because you've spent roughly 0 time here. How dare you talk about a city as if you know it when you obviously don't? And so then she asks, can your mind be changed? Or are you so arrogant that not even sound argument will move you? And he's like, my mind can occasionally be changed. And then she's looking so pretty in the cold because it's making her cheeks rosier and her lips redder and her eyes brighter, impossibly brighter, Erin. And so he's thinking to himself, I'm pretty sure I could let this lady change my mind about anything. And then he's like, tamp it down, Thorndale. You're not marrying anyone. No. Tamp it down. You don't like people. You don't trust them. Okay. No. So she's like, all right, I am going to change your mind about London. And here's how I'm going to do it. We are going to go all around to my favorite haunts because I'm going to be moving soon and I'm going to miss my home. And so this is my last opportunity to see the town that I love, and you're going to love it with me.
So what is her motivation for this? She likes him, or she's scheming?
She's still scheming a bit.
Is she scheming to marry him, or is she scheming to forgive the debt?
Forgive the debt.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she's only scheming to forgive the debt, although she's liking him more and more.
Has she identified him as a sexy man?
She has, in fact. Okay. Not only that, but she's also started... Like, she's gotten over the original slights, and she's starting to like his personality, too, because he's opening up a bit. Okay. She also really liked the way he handled himself in that physical altercation.
Yes, that's always a good thing to watch. That always speeds things up.
Yeah, she was always real into that. So she's like, we're going to start at Bond Street, because she finds out that his house is 8 miles away from the nearest market, which makes it a 2-hour drive both ways in a horse and cart. Because apparently the roads in Yorkshire are abysmal. Like, the Romans did not build them, you know? So they go to Bond Street, and she's like, here, you can get everything you want. You can get yourself, I swear, that she says, a scarf from somewhere. Hold on. I'm going to find it. Sorry. I shouldn't try this.
Get yourself a scarf from somewhere. Here is Bond Street. Get yourself a scarf from somewhere.
Yep.
More romantic words have ever been said.
I know. All right. Goods from all over the globe. You could purchase a fine Madeira, an exquisite Indian shawl, and a plume of an Australian emu, all in one afternoon.
All right. It didn't get any less arbitrary, so.
Well, wait. So then he goes, I can't imagine wanting to buy wine, scarves, and feathers all in one afternoon.
Fair.
His voice deepened. Not unless I had a very interesting evening planned.
Ooh. Ooh.
And she says to herself, what a rogue he could be.
Oh,
Louise
good. I'm so
suspected-
glad she said that and not, whatever could he mean?
I know. She goes, Louisa suspected he was trying to shock her into missish fluster. She would not give him the satisfaction. So it's really good. She's like, you can also get really boring shit here. He's like, I can get boring shit in Yorkshire. What's next?
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, all right. Oh, and then she looks into a window and there's this really like shabby looking bookshop. And he's like, this thing looks really disorganized and terrible. Like, how do you find all the books that you want?
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, well, if it was easy to find the books that I want, I wouldn't come across all of the books I didn't know I shouldn't live without.
Aww.
Yeah, she's one of us.
Yeah.
So, and then she's like, all right, what would you take if you had to go live on a deserted island?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, food, water, and a boat. And she's like, don't be obtuse.
Yeah, don't
like,
be an asshole, dude.
Yeah, just assume
Yeah.
that there's a lot of food and that a boat is coming for you within a year.
Yeah.
What would you take? And he goes, a mermaid, another mermaid, and another mermaid.
Good.
And she's like, you're the worst. And he's like, well, you're asking a ridiculous question, so I'm going to give you a ridiculous answer.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, it's not a ridiculous question because I'm going to have to go live on the Isle of Jersey like next week.
Yeah.
So it's not ridiculous. And he's like, why do you have to go live there? She's like, no reason. I'm going to take you somewhere else now.
Tell him.
Nope, she can't. She can't do it. Then where do they go next? Question mark. Oh, they go to a church and stuff.
Okay.
But really, what happens?
What's the meat and
that's more
potatoes? Give me
important?
the romance.
The meat and potatoes is he's like, your teeth are chattering. You need to warm up.
She's cold.
She's so cold.
You know the best
and
way
she's
to
wearing
warm
his
up?
coat. How?
You get naked
me
in a
everything.
sleeping bag with another person who's already naked.
With another who's naked.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yep.
So he's like, we need to go somewhere. And she's like, all of the establishments are closed. And he looks down the block and he's like, there's a lot of like movement over there. What's that? And she's like, well, that's all the gentlemen's clubs. Like, I couldn't possibly. Oh, by this point, he's also already told her that he really, really likes a woman who speaks her mind.
Ooh. Catnip.
Because everybody else has been like, yes, you're gracing him to death.
Mm-hmm.
And while they were dancing, he was like, oh, not only is she not scheming, but she's like standing up to me. So he's very intrigued. And he really likes it.
Mm-hmm.
So he takes her down there and he's like, all right, we're going to go into one of these because I've gotten an invitation. And like, they'll let me and I'm a duke regardless. So like, let's go. And he goes up to one of them and she's like, I may be not your average lady, but even I will not attempt to go in there because like those rumors will go as far as the Isle of Jersey.
Yes, that is true. Way to be smart.
So he pops in. I know. So he pops in. He gets himself a bottle of brandy and a couple of and like a little cordial glass.
Aww.
And he takes her to a doorway, a shaded doorway out of the wind.
Yes.
So they're like cloistered together.
Yes.
He hands her a little thing of brandy and she tries to be worldly. And so she downs the whole thing and coughs and sputters.
Oh, God, I hate when they cough and sputter. Just tamp that down. Just do it.
It's not possible.
It is. Yeah.
So,
just do it. Just be cooler than that. All right. Okay.
So then she's really impressed because he takes a swig straight from the bottle.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, he's so rugged and manly.
Exactly. She should have been rugged and manly. Gosh, damn it. Louisa.
Well, so then he serves her another glass and she sips it and she's really cool about it that time.
Good
so
job, Louisa.
she comes back.
Yeah.
And then they look into each other's eyes.
Yes.
And she feels as though the doorway is getting smaller and smaller as the world centers around his eyes and his lips and his musk probably too. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, the door to the house opens.
No!
And there's a guy there.
No!
And so he's like, what are you doing here? And oh, I'm sorry. I have to go back. Right before he goes into the gentleman's club, he's like, shout if anything frightens you. And she goes, shout what? And he goes, he made an aimless gesture. Help, I suppose, or fire, or murder. In a pinch, James might suffice, because he's already given her permission to use his Christian name.
Yes.
Like, not
I
a
love
thing.
it when dukes let you call them by their name.
I know. And so, in a pinch, James would suffice. She nodded. Come to me, you magnificent stag it is.
Also,
Oh,
sentence
so
I
good.
never thought I'd say. I love it when dukes let you call them by their names.
I know.
If you rewound to a year ago, nope.
No, never.
All right, okay.
But then he responds to her, I knew I liked you.
Mm-hmm.
And oh boy. Okay. So then the guy comes out of the door and he's like, what's going on here? And so the Duke of Thorndale just goes, God rest ye merry gentlemen.
Good
I
stuff.
think it's a different song, but it doesn't matter. They end up caroling for an entire family for like 4 songs. And then they fuck off.
Yeah.
It's adorable. So as they walk away, he's like, I can't believe that worked. Or she's like, I can't believe that worked.
Of course it worked. Haven't you ever seen Love Actually?
Not to mention that he's like, it wouldn't have worked if you weren't such a gamer.
Yeah.
If you weren't so cool and on the level that you just played along. He's loving this.
Good. Okay, good.
And so
because she came back from that brandy moment, so that's good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then she's like, you know what? I'm going to show you that London has nature. And so she takes him to Hyde Park.
Mm-hmm.
But then he turns the situation on its head because he's like, you've told me all about how London is great. Now I'm going to tell you about how Yorkshire and the countryside is great. Here's what's going on. So he starts building her like a snow replica of his estates.
What?
And he tells her this whole story.
No.
Stop it. No.
No.
Just go with me. You put your happy hat on and you shut the fuck up and go with me here.
My God. Guys, this is a new level of Erin doesn't like it and Melody does. Melody just demands that Erin like it. All right, Mel. Take my hand and lead me to this snow castle that he's building her that is an exact miniature replica of his estate.
Okay, it's not like that. It's like he's drawing in the snow. Okay, so it's like casual and
still
stuff.
Dubious.
I hear it. I hear it.
I'm sorry, my happy hat is on, and I'm totally fine with everything. That's what they want to hear. It's just, I agree with anything you say, Melody. Please.
Here we go. Okay.
No, you're not supposed to. You're like, yeah, that's what I wanted. God damn it. All right, okay.
You're doing it. Good job.
Good job.
Okay. So he's telling her all about where Thorndale Abbey is. That's the house, apparently. And then he's showing her the Northlands with the bogs or something, and how it gets really cold, and the nature is oppressive but also majestic, and she's like loving it because she just loves the enraptured look he has in his eyes as he's talking about his estates. And then he starts talking about the lower fields and how all the farmers are in a lot of trouble because the soil is really good and it's really rich, but it floods anytime it rains, and they live in England. So it's always flooding. So he's like, I need to build these drainage ditches, pipes, and I can only do that with these like brick pipe things. Like that would work best. But that's going to take a lot of money. And so that's why I'm down in England. I'm raising capital by selling off a bunch of properties here so that I can make sure that my farmers don't starve every year as they have been.
Dukelet.
He's so noble.
Yeah. He's a noble man and also a noble man.
Yes. So she is starting to be like, oh, he's not just being a dick. Oh, no. But then she makes the really valid point of like, sure, I understand that you're trying to sell these properties to take care of these starving farmers. However, have you thought about the people who like might live or work in the properties that you're selling all of a sudden and like very quickly? And he's like, no, what is it to a London family to have to move house? Like, it's such an inconvenience to like have to move.
I mean, he's probably mostly right.
Yeah. And most of them are factories or whatever. And she's like, but not all of them, though, you know? So she's trying
at factories. That's probably even worse.
Well, no, but who's to say that the new owners aren't going to keep the same workers and, you know, setup or whatever?
That's fair.
No, he says storehouses, not factories.
Okay.
Storehouses.
Right. Okay.
So she's trying to get him to see her side. He's trying to get to see, you know, they're not doing it. So they get in this fight. And then she reaches down and she grabs a handful of Thorndale Abbey. And he's like, you wouldn't. And she packs it up into a snowball and throws it right at his head. Yes. And so then he's like, you will not do that again or you will reap the consequences. And so she grabs a bunch of the lower fields and she packs it into a snowball and she throws it at his head. Then he's like, we're doing it now. This is not okay.
On. You weren't going to say it's on because it's not fucking on.
It's not quite on. So he grabs a snowball and they start winging snowballs at each other. And then she goes around a tree and they start cat and mousing around a tree. And then he just,
beast.
Oh, it's so good. And so then he's just like,
you cannot find something
and unrefined. So then he comes around the tree and grabs her by the waist and then throws her down on the ground.
Yeah. It's on. On.
It is on. So he throws her down on the ground and then he scoops her up in this manly display of strength. He scoops her up and into his lap and then he wraps his coat around both of them and they're warming each other in England times finery. And then
they make out
he's
hardcore.
Like, they do.
Yay!
Oh, yeah. Do they ever? So she's been thinking like, maybe it won't be so bad that I have to move to Jersey because I can open my horizons and like better myself. And so she goes,
you could stay here in England and open up your legs and better yourself. That's what I say.
Also that too. So she's thinking to herself, there was so much she hadn't experienced of the world, so much she suddenly yearned to explore. And it started here with the wilderness between them.
Yes.
Oh,
good job, Tessa.
Yeah. So he pushes an icy wisp of hair from her face and he says, what was it we were arguing about? And she goes, I've forgotten. Inevitability coiled between them like a spring. Yes. The closer they drew to one another, the more the tension built. And then, at last, a kiss. So then it changes to his perspective. They are kissing and a clinging.
Yep.
And he likes her very well indeed, it says. And their lips part and their foreheads met. And reluctantly he said, I shouldn't be doing this. And she says, we're both doing this.
Yeah.
And he goes, yes, but I didn't ask. And she goes, I don't object.
Yeah.
And then he goes, we scarcely know one another. We can remedy that. Dogs or cats? What? Do you prefer dogs or cats?
Yeah.
Dogs. Tea or coffee? Tea. Autumn or spring? So they do that for a while. And then, oh man. So she says that her favorite color is orange. And he's like, nobody's favorite color is orange.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Yellow and orange.
Well, yellow is your favorite. Yeah.
But I love an orange.
I know. I have to try to get this complexion into a yellow or orange dress for your wedding. And I am really, really determined to make it work.
I swear to God.
Okay.
All you bitches keep complaining, and it's not hard. Just find a dress.
It is hard.
Just find all you bitches.
So she says that she's determined to set herself apart. And he goes, you've succeeded at setting yourself apart magnificently. Oh, boy. So he's trailing kisses down her neck.
Ooh.
He's touching up on her boobs.
Yep.
It is a whole thing.
Oh, gosh, is a boob going to come out in England times winter?
No.
Oh,
it
good.
doesn't.
It's too cold for that.
It doesn't, because then the clock strikes and they're like, oh no, it's 1 a.m. But then it keeps striking.
Oh.
And they realize that it's 5 a.m.
What?
Yeah.
What?
They have been hanging out and bantering and drinking brandy and loving each other for way too many hours.
Oh, gosh.
So she's like, oh my God, I have to get back to my England Times house.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have to get you back there because it was already scandalous that I was going to walk you home. Now we've been unchaperoned for 5 hours.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. Oh, she goes, are you worried you've ruined me? I'm moving to Jersey in a fortnight. My social life is over anyway. And in his inner monologue, it says, be that as it may, he owed her father some explanations and, good God, perhaps he would owe Louisa the offer of his hand. Oh, it was madness. But James began to think that might not be so terrible. In fact, it might just be the best thing to ever happen in his life.
Whoa.
Okay. Yeah, so he's like fully on the Mary train. He walks her home. They're slipping in a slide in because it's icy. And they get almost like a block away from her house. And she's like, you should go away now because now she really likes him. Now she never wants him to know that he's evicting her because she is fully prepared to live her life in Jersey and find, she's like, I've already met a really interesting farmer in this Duke. Like, maybe I do have hope in Jersey. It's okay.
Right.
So he is like, absolutely not. I'm walking you to your door and I'm explaining myself to your father. She's like, no. You should fuck off right now.
Right.
And then Kat sees her out of a window. Precocious little cat. And she's like, Louisa's home. She raises the whole family. The family rushes out onto the doorstep and they're like, oh, a man. What's happening here?
Oh, hello.
And she's like, nothing to see here. We're going to go inside. You're going to go home. And he's like, no, I need to talk to the father of the house. May I do that, please? And they say that he's out looking for Louisa because it's 5 in the goddamn morning.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So they're like, come in, wait in the like, we'll serve you tea in the parlor. And he's like, no, we'll just sit in the kitchen. And it is so cute because her little brothers are like going through his pockets. He's sitting in the kitchen. No, like, whatever. I'm not talking kids with you. Okay. So he sits down.
This has happened
at the
twice
table.
in this recording where I've been like, bing, boom, bong, and you've been like, shut your shit up. You like this. There will be no segments today.
I just dismissed it. That's all.
I know.
I'm
like,
bing,
boom, and you're like, fuck you.
You didn't bing, boom anything.
Twice I've been like, I don't think this is logistically, and you've been like, shut the hell up.
I'm sorry. Bing, boom, bong. Street urchins with Erin. Go ahead.
Well, they just go up to this guy and they're like, give me what's in your pockets? That sounds real weird.
They're just playing with him.
Okay.
They're just like, yeah. So anyway, he sits down at the kitchen table. They're serving him tea. He's like, he gestures. They have this whole nonverbal, the most beautiful interaction where he like gestures to sit down next to him. And so she pulls the chair farther away from him and sits down. He hooks the leg of his foot into her chair and pulls the chair closer. And she's like, she looks at him and in her mind, she's like, my family will get ideas. And in his eyes back to her, he says, let them have ideas. And it's so cute. They pour tea and it's ugh. And then, so then Kat is like, you've done it. This is great.
Found it.
And she's like, button your shit up, Kat. Yeah. She's very Melody in this situation.
Yeah.
Button your shit up,
I've
Kat.
Noticed lately.
Because we are not doing this right now and you will not speak a word.
Yeah.
So then Dad comes home and best dad ever. He does not berate her.
Really?
He doesn't do anything. He just like pats her down and he's like, you're home. You're safe. Thank goodness. Gives her a huge hug.
Yeah.
Doesn't lecture. Nothing. And then he looks over her shoulder and he's like, ooh, a man.
Duke of Thorn Bosoms. There he is.
That's the one. So then he comes up and he's like, hi, I am the Duke of Thorndale.
Yep, that's the one.
And everybody gets quiet.
Yep.
And then Kat goes, she extra did it. Like, we're not going to get evicted. She didn't just get any suitor. She got this one. This is great.
She snagged the right one.
Yeah. And so then he's like, hold on. I own this house? And she's like, well, technically, yes. Yeah, you do. But like, let me explain.
Don't worry.
He's like, I will get my coat and my hat and my cane and whatever else I have in England times, and I am getting the fuck out of here.
Oh no, because he thinks he's been swindled?
Oh yeah.
Oh, he thinks
he's been super set up.
Oh no.
All night.
Duke
he thinks
Thorn
that
Grapes?
she has orchestrated this dance card situation.
No.
He thinks that she's orchestrated everything.
Thorn Griddle? Come back.
So she grabs a shawl and some boots and she follows him out onto the sidewalk, catches him a couple of houses down, and she's like, let me explain. At first, I just wanted to get you to talk to my dad. Like, once I liked you, I just wanted to get you in front of my dad. That's all. Yeah. And he's like, oh no, let's rewind to the ball. And she's like, I didn't even know you were going to be at the ball. And he's like, oh yeah? You didn't know I was going to be at the ball where my cousin was hosting? And like, that's the dance card you took? And she's like, you guys are cousins?
Yeah.
It's this whole thing.
Didn't even know. Started off as a bet, but then we fell in love and I didn't know.
It's true. And she's like, I declined a second dance with you and I wouldn't let you take me to dinner. You know, like I didn't do any of that.
No.
He goes, and then you led me on an hours-long walk through Mayfair. That is hardly the behavior of a woman eager to be rid of her companion. And she goes, I know, but that came later.
When I like you.
Yeah, like I didn't want to do any of that. And so then...
No, are these guys going to end up together?
Wait, I know, right?
No.
So then he goes, I nearly fell for it too. God, what an idiot. I was ready to marry you.
No.
Louisa's eyebrows soared with disbelief.
No.
What? And then he's like, you must think me a fool. And she goes, no, not at all. I think you rather wonderful.
Oh, no.
He says, spare me the flattery. And she says, James. And he goes, don't call me that.
No. I hate it when Duke's telling you that you can't call them by their names anymore.
I know.
Oh.
Because you know what, Erin? That degree of familiarity is reserved for friends.
No.
And she recoiled.
Don't be so informal, madam.
I know. He made a curt bow.
No.
Oh. And then he tells her, I wish you and your family all due happiness on the Isle of Jersey.
God, it's terrible. What am I quoting? Is that Ever After? Yes, it is. When she says to the prince, she calls him by her first name, and he says, "Don't be so informal, madam." That is from Ever After. Oh, it's so terrible. Ever After. What a great movie.
It's really good.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so then he's furiously walking away, and she's standing there watching him.
Yes.
And he turns right, and then she very weakly calls out, left. You're going to want to turn left.
Tessa.
It's so good. I knew you'd like this. Okay.
Okay.
So then, the next day, there's a lot happening in my womb right now.
No.
Yikes.
No, power through.
I am. Okay. So he goes to Lady Carville's house to check on his cousin who had the headache.
Fiona.
Because... yeah,
Fiona,
because that's the polite
clutch.
thing to do.
Yeah,
I know. So he goes all the way up, and Lady Carville is in hysterics. And he's like, I don't know what's going on here. I'm just asking after Fiona. And she's like, how do you already know? Who told you? Oh, I bet this person told you. And he's like, told me? I don't know what you're talking about. She just had a headache. I just want to see if she's okay. He finds out about the elopement. He finds out that Lady Carville is really pissed at, I almost said Fenella. Nope. Louisa, because she had a huge part in making sure nobody knew that Fiona had left. Yeah, for hours, for like 4 or 6 hours. They didn't know that Fiona had left because nobody was asking after her dances. So she's like, oh, that scheming girl and her terribleness. And he's like, oh my God, she wasn't lying to me. She was really helping a friend. He's replaying the conversation they had before the dance and everything else. And he's like, I am such an idiot. I need to make this right. So all of a sudden, it's Christmas. We fast forward like a week probably to Christmas. They're having a beautiful Ward family Christmas because even though they can't give each other big gifts, it's the thought that counts. And they love each other so much. And they're playing games and they're eating yummy food. And they're just really soaking up the last Christmas they're going to have in their townhouse. And then all of a sudden, one of her little brothers is like, Louisa, there's a letter for you that's been dropped off.
Thorn waffles. He's here.
And she's like, I don't know what this is. She goes, she's like, oh, I get to hear from Fiona. I'm sure it's a post from Scotland. But then she looks at it and there's no address on it. It's just her name. So she opens it up and lo and behold, she's not super sure, but she's pretty sure it's the deed to their house.
And he's there, right? He's there. He's like at the house. And then
she calls up the stairs to her brother. She's like, who delivered this? And from behind her, he says, I did.
Yes.
And so he's like, I just found out about the whole Fiona thing. I know you weren't being a scheming wretch. And she's like, oh, you're so handsome. He's like, and then he's like, here's the thing. I want to talk to you privately. And then I want to talk to your father. And she's like, oh my God. And he's like, I'm not going to propose. And she's like, oh. And he's like, instead,
we're going to do sex.
To properly court you.
Oh, it's better than what I thought.
Yeah, it's not sorted at all. And so he's like, I want to properly court you. I wanted to give you the house because I don't want you to ever feel obligated if the courtship isn't working to like make it work. Right. Well, it's probably one of like 15 properties. You know what I mean? Well, and then he's like, and also, I didn't ever want to think throughout this whole thing that you wanted the house and not me while we were courting. So like, we're taking the house off the table. It's yours now. Yeah. I can't take it back. And she's like, but the farmers, because she's the best. Yeah. And she's like, we can make it work elsewhere. Yeah. We can figure it out. And he's like, I'll figure out the farmers.
I'll screw over some of these families less sexy than yours.
Exactly. A less sexy family. Yeah, less sexy is all he needs. Yeah. Right. And so she's like, I can't believe this. Like, of course I want you. Look at your face. Look at that rugged handsomeness. Yeah. I just want you. And meanwhile, he's thinking to himself, I led such a solitary childhood. Look at all this huge, big bundle of happiness with this family. And so then she's like, she grabs his hand and she's like, why don't you come sing this Christmas song with my family? And he's like, oh, yeah. And so that's the end of that. But then the epilogue.
Sex.
The epilogue.
Sex.
Is sex.
Yeah, good. Good.
Yeah, so they're married. They got some marriedness down. It's months later, and he's like, I am married to you now, and so we're going to do some sex. And she's like, yes. But wait, what does it say? It's so good. Okay, so they had talked about her trousseau earlier because she was thinking about like what to pack to go to the Isle of Jersey. And so he's like got his tongue all over, and he swept his tongue over her breast, and his other hand went up her skirt. And she's like, oh, I've got rose petals for my bath, she gasped. A silky negligee. And he goes, I don't care. Yeah. She goes, I went through a great deal of trouble choosing it. You'd better care. And he goes, I'll care later. I promise. Louisa, I need you. And he's just like, I did the proper courtship thing. I've been wanting to do this for months. Oh, it is so sweet. And then he goes, don't be anxious. I'll go as slowly as you wish. And she goes, and if I wish you to go faster?
Nope.
And he looked down at his wife and he goes, I love you. And apparently he spent the whole courtship not telling her that. This is the first time. He wanted to like save it for the wedding night. So he's called her love and stuff, but he never actually said he loved her. Ugh, it's so good. So anyway, they do some sex that's not like, you know, really like up to Tessa's standards, but it's good. And it makes sense for the tone of the novella and like the length of it and everything. So then he's like, tell me we're going to have like a whole bundle of children because I want a big family. And she goes, sweetheart, you married into a big family. And he's like, gah! And his whole heart melts and it's beautiful. So that's Meet Me in Mayfair.
Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.
Blessed
happy holidays.
Solstice.
Yeah.
We should do Lady Loves, but we're like 2 hours in. Can we just say Merry Christmas?
Yeah.
Do you want to do Lady Loves?
No, I don't know what I would say.
I don't either. You guys just like take mental health breaks in your Christmas time.
Yeah.
No, don't. It doesn't have to be perfect. Whatever it is, if you burn the thing or you don't put up the whatever, or you don't do the thing this year, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
It doesn't matter.
It's fine. It's fine.
Doesn't matter.
It's
Merry
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Melody.
We'll see you for a happy new year.
Yeah, congratulations on your baby.
Who knows? I might have had it. I might not have.
Exactly.
I'll probably post pictures in the cult. Probably. Of course I'll post pictures in the
You'll
cult.
Post way more pictures than anyone has ever posted pictures of a baby, I'm sure.
Oi, that's not true.
That is true. That is 100% true.
I am not that person.
You post pictures of Ember all the time.
Oh, well, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's really cute.
He's very cute.
Newborns. Not cute.
I am not going to comment on this because if I do, then everything I say about your newborn is going to be tainted. So I will just say I am neutral on newborns. If I see yours and it strikes me that it's very cute, then I will say it.
All right.
All
right. So keep being a badass and love yourself as much as you love a Marauder plotline.
Love biscuits.
Yeah. Love yourself as much as you love magical love biscuits.
MacLean family love shortbread. Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.